Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're going to be going over all of the perks in Fallout New Vegas, and we're going to be ranking them. First up, we have our level 2 perks, and we have quite a lot of choices in level 2. So first up, we have our 4 gender perks. These ones give you 10% more damage against either the same sex or the opposite sex, depending on which one you wish to pick, and they also get you some unique dialogue options. Now, 2 of them are a little bit better than the other 2. The ones that give you extra damage towards male characters will generally get you more value than the ones that get you more damage towards female characters, unless you're doing a specific build like an assassin build or a pacifist build where you need to hit certain skill checks. These can just make it far easier to get into certain areas or get closer to certain characters, especially if you want to be like a thief and pickpocket them. But generally, you're going to be fighting more male characters than female characters. That's why the male character 10% more damage is generally more useful than the 10% more female damage. So for that, I'm going to put Black Widow up into B tier, as well as Confirmed Bachelor, and then the very French perk that I can't say the name of, I'm going to put into C tier, and Lady Killer I'm also going to put into C tier, because I think that they are not quite as good as these two, but they're not terrible perks by any means. All of them can be pretty useful. Up next, we have Friend of Night. This makes it so you have night vision at night. That's it. This one's not really that great. I'm going to put it into D tier. You can get Cat Eye, which is a chem in this game, and use that, and it gives you the exact same effect. Or you can get a night vision scope on something like the Varmint Rifle. Heave Ho gives you 50% more weapon velocity and range. This is when you're throwing things, so grenades, spears, axes, whatever it might be. It's an okay perk. I have run it when I've been using like throwing spears, and it's pretty decent, but it's nothing exceptional. I'd put this one into C tier. It's a nice quality of life perk, though, for those type of builds. It's just most people aren't going for those type of builds in general. Then we've got Intense Training. This gets you one more special point to anything that you would like. It's a solid all-around perk to take whenever you don't know what else to take, so I'm going to put this one up into B tier. Hunter gives you 75% more crit damage when you're attacking animals or mutated animals, which sounds pretty good, but honestly, Hunter doesn't affect that many things. Most of the enemies it affects aren't the scariest things in the game, with the exception of the Yao Guai. They can be pretty scary, in which case Hunter is actually pretty good. But everything else, it's like regular geckos, golden geckos, big horners, Brahmin, none of which really demand your attention to where you would really need this. It's an okay perk, though. It's an alright quality of life perk. If you don't know what else to take, I'm going to put it on the higher end D tier, low C tier, somewhere around there. It's not useless or anything like that, and especially if you want to run to Honest Hearts early, it can be a very tempting option. Plus, it's a level 2 perk, and most level 2 perks are not super necessary throughout most builds anyway. Rapid Reload makes it so you reload all of your weapons 25% faster. This one's bugged, though, to where if you leave the game and come back to it, or your game crashes and you come back to it, your reload speed is then 25% slower for whatever odd reason. It's always been that way. You can just switch off the weapon, though, or unequip the weapon and re-equip it, and it'll go back to faster reloads. Can be really useful for certain weapons, especially the weapon it shows here with either the 357 or the 44. Both of which gain a decent reload speed advantage, so it's not bad. I'm going to put this one into B tier. Retention makes it so all skill magazines last 3 real-time minutes, rather than the 1 minute, I believe, that they last otherwise. So retention can be a little bit useful with certain books. If you want to take like the Crit Chance book, can be useful during combat. Every other book you're probably not going to be using during combat, though. At least I forget to use them. And other than that, I'm basically just using the skill magazines to pick locks, to get skill checks, or to like hack computers and stuff. In which case, retention gives me no real advantage, and I'm going to put this one into D tier. It's not super useful most of the time. Then we have Swift Learner. Swift Learner gives you 10% more XP gained whenever you do gain XP. This one's also not that great. I don't recommend it. I'm going to put this one... honestly, I'm just going to put Swift Learner into F tier. There's no real reason for you to be gaining extra XP. You can actually just get more XP if you want to do the well-rested thing, so rest in a bed for, I believe it's 6 to 8 hours, and then you'll get 10% more XP. You can take this one multiple times, so you can have more XP, but it doesn't really matter unless you're just trying to get to max level the fastest possible, in which case then it would be alright. But outside of that, it's really not that good. For these last 4 perks, they are all dead money related perks, and they are all currently bugged in the game, where if you choose to take one of them at level 2 or at level 4, and then leave good springs and respec your character by changing them, you will actually get to keep these perks. So that gives them kind of an extra advantage over the other level 2 perks, because if you take any one of these, or if you take a level 2 and then you take another one at level 4, you don't get to keep any of them. They'll just be reset, and then you can get them back once again. But the dead money ones, you can get 2 of these, or you can get 1 or 2 of these, leave good springs, respec your character, and then get another 1 or 2 perks depending on how many you got before leaving the area. Light Touch is probably the best of these perks, where so long as you're wearing light armor, then you gain 5% more crit chance with every weapon, and enemies around you suffer negative 25% crit chance. So you don't get crit as often, and you get a crit more, really useful, especially if you want to use light armor in your build. I'm going to put this one up into A tier. It's a very nice, although a little bit situational perk, because if you don't plan on taking light armor, then this one's not super useful to you. It might be useful in the early game, but if you're going to switch off to medium or heavy armor, then you don't get any advantage from it. Then we have Old World Gourmet. This one gives you 25% addiction resist, which is nice. You also get extra health benefits from scotch, vodka, and wine. So if you want to drink those things, this is a pretty decent option. It's an okay perk. I'm going to put this one into C tier. It's not terrible. Then we've got Junk Rounds. Junk Rounds makes it so that you can make ammunition from scrap metal and tin cans. These do have to be regular tin cans. They can't be bent tin cans for whatever reason. You don't get a whole lot of ammo from this, but it can be okay to make 45-70 or 50 cal rounds early on if you just want to go heavy into repair and vendors aren't quite selling that at those levels, at least in large quantities. It can kind of be okay, but even so, I'm going to put it into D tier. It's not a great trait. Then we have Inshining Armor, which is probably the most useless perk in the game because it doesn't work. You don't get anything for taking this. It's just a dead skill. Even if it did work, it's not that great. You get 5 more durability against energy weapons when wearing metal armor and 2 more damage threshold when using sunglasses. Sunglasses, you might be wearing metal armor, generally isn't that good. Even if you want to go with a heavy armor build, it's still better to take things like power armor over this. So it's really not that good at the start, even if it did work, but since it doesn't work, it does get the absolute lowest spot in F tier. So now from level 2, we're moving on to the level 4 perks, and first up we got Cannibal, which Cannibal you basically only take if you want to roleplay as a cannibal. There's no real reason to take Cannibal unless you're going for the specific achievement of eating all of the primary people like Mr. House and Caesar, or if you're doing certain speech checks, but the actual effect of Cannibal, where you just get to eat people for a little bit of health and food, doesn't really help. Even on hardcore, you're given plenty of food. So this is definitely more of a meme perk that you're going to be taking for a specific build. Or if you're just trying to get really negative karma, this could also be an option. I'm going to put it in the low end of D tier, though. It's not a great perk to actually be running. Then we have Comprehension. This gives us 1 more skill point every time that we read a book. That would give us skill points. So instead of gaining 3, we gain 4. That can be pretty useful. You go from about 21 total perk points that you can have to 28 from books regularly. That's not including every single book, because you can get more from like Honest Hearts, and I don't think that's also including the ones at Big Mountain. So it would be a little bit more than that overall for each skill, which can be useful. It's not necessary to get to max skills with that, but it is a nice addition. So I'm going to put this one into C tier. Up next, we have Educated, which also helps with skill points. This gets you 2 more skill points every time that you level up, which can be really useful on a low intelligence build. On a high intelligence build, it's not really worth it. It's an okay one. Better if you're also taking like Logan's Loophole and you plan on just getting to level 30, then these two do raise up quite a bit in terms of usefulness. But if you are going to level 50, then they're not super necessary, so I'd put this one also into C tier. It's an okay perk. Entomologist gives us 50% more damage towards mutated insects. This can be pretty useful. There are some scary insects in New Vegas. The mantises can hit pretty hard, and you can find them somewhat early on. Cazadors are going to be the big threat here, and rad scorpions. Rad scorpions aren't as scary as they were in like Fallout 3, at least with the albino ones, but they can still give you trouble early on. Cazadors are going to be the main reason to be taking Entomologist, and it's not a terrible skill. I would put this one up into B tier because the 50% damage is pretty noticeable, and it would certainly help if you want to run up north right away at the start of the game to fight through the Cazadors and maybe pick up some fire axes so that you can get some extra money early on. Rad Child regenerates 2 HP every second when you have 200 or more rads. That's okay. It's still not great. There's better ways to heal even on the hardcore difficulty. You're going to find plenty of food to eat, plenty of things that will get you health. So it's not the best unless you just really want to be stingy with your stim packs or really want to be stingy with your food. I'm going to put Rad Child into D tier. I don't think it's that great even on hardcore. Running Gun halves your spread with one-handed weapons when walking or running. That's not terrible, especially if you like using submachine guns like shown in the picture here. Especially if you want to take this like Sleepy Time, which is a great submachine gun, or Vance's 9mm, another great submachine gun. This one can be pretty good. For certain other guns, it doesn't really matter. Like if you're using the Ranger Sequoia or the Hunting Revolver, they're already quite accurate. It's okay though. I'm going to put Running Gun into B tier. I think it's fine. Then we have Travel Light. Travel Light is a really nice quality of life perk. This makes it so when you're wearing light armor, you move 10% faster. That can be useful, especially if you want to speedrun the game or just run around the place. It also does mess with the AI a little bit. When they're trying to hit you, you can actually move further back than what their swing would be some of the time. So it can be useful in combat too, but mostly it's a quality of life perk, and I'd put it into C tier. Up next is our level 6 perks, and our very first one is Bloody Mess. Bloody Mess gets you 5% more overall damage with everything, and it also makes enemies explode more often, which can be kind of fun. So pretty decent perk. It also doesn't have any sort of requirements to it, so you can just grab it with anybody. And it's a fairly solid perk. I'm going to put this one high up into B tier. I think it's quite good. Then we've got Demo Expert. This gives us 20% more damage to all explosive weapons, and you can take this 3 times. That's a big damage buff, and explosives already do really high damage. If you're running an explosive build, absolutely take this one. I'm going to put this one high up into A tier. I think it's really good. Even if you're not taking an explosive build specifically, can still be useful if you like throwing out frag grenades or if you like using landmines. Then we've got Ferocious Loyalty. This one makes it so when you drop below 50% of your HP, your companions gain 50 damage resist, so your companions become tankier. This can be pretty useful if you like running companions. Usually I don't have enough charisma to take this one, but when I have ran it, it's been okay. It's never been like a must-have though, so I think I'm going to put this one into C tier. I think it's okay. Gunslinger makes it so you are 25% more accurate in VATS with one-handed weapons. This can be pretty useful, especially for certain weapons if you like using the Ranger Sequoia, the Alien Blaster, Plasma Defender. On a VATS build, I would say it's definitely worth it. I'm going to put it up into B tier. Pretty good. And then we got Toughness. You can take this one twice, and this one gives you 3 more damage threshold permanently. That's really good. That's really good armor, and Toughness is going to be our very first S tier perk. Whoop. Cutting off the list there a little bit. Very good, very useful in basically every single build, because even if you want to run light armor, this can be useful, where you're just now basically wearing medium armor or a little bit better light armor than what you normally would be. And if you're wearing heavy armor, you can be even tankier than you already would be. So it's a win-win on any sort of build. Even if you're running just a pacifist build and you don't plan on fighting anything, just being able to soak up damage is kind of nice. Fortune Fighter makes it so you find more caps than usual in any sort of location that you would normally find caps. This one's honestly pretty bad in New Vegas. There's not really a reason to be running it. You will get a little bit more money overall, but with all the ways that you can make money in New Vegas, and especially make a lot of money in New Vegas, this one's just not a great option for it. Lead Belly gives you 50% radiation reduction when eating food or water. This one's pretty awful, especially if you have the Old World Blues DLC, where there's an implant that does this for you, and it does it better than this. So if you have that, this thing's absolutely F tier. Even if you didn't have that, you can still pop Rad-X and eat your stuff, and it's still going to be better than this. So it's still going to stay in F tier. It's not as bad as in Shining Armor, but Handloader's up next, and Handloader's fantastic. This one makes it so you can make custom ammunition for all of your regular guns, which is really good. Some of the ammunition is insanely strong, and it's usually an upgrade to just about any normal gun that you'd want to use. You have good options with 5.56, 308, 4570, 50 cal. You have a lot of options there, and it gives you even more choices for whatever ammunition you want to load into your gun. I'm going to put this one up into A tier. Really good if you are using guns. Then we have Shotgun Surgeon. This ignores 10 damage threshold on any enemy, regardless of what ammunition you're firing from your shotgun, which is really good for certain ammo types, especially buckshot, where your damage is kind of spread out. It's less useful with slugs. It's still very useful with slugs, though. And this only counts for regular shotguns, not shotgun-like weapons for energy weapons. So it doesn't count for like the tri-beam laser or the multi-plas rifle, although I think both those would be extremely strong if they could make use of this. So I'm going to put this one up into A tier. If you're running shotgun builds, it's really good. Then we have Vigilant Recycler. At least I hope that's what this one is, unless it's the Mad Bomber icon, but we're going to pretend like it's Vigilant Recycler. This one is similar to Handloader, but for energy weapons. You can make more efficient shots for your energy weapons, which is great. They can do more damage because of the types that you can make. So this one I'm also going to put up into A tier. If you're running energy weapons, take this one as well. The Professional is also kind of a bugged perk where you're supposed to get 20% more damage with sneak crits with any sort of one-handed weapon. So any sort of gun or energy weapon, you're supposed to get 20% more, but it actually works for everything, which makes it a bit better. So it can work with rifles as well. I would put this one up into B tier. It's pretty nice. It looks like this list is missing the Mad Bomber perk, so I'm going to use this one as an example of it. So Mad Bomber makes it so that you can make your own explosive recipes, which can be really useful early on, especially if you're running an explosives build. Mad Bomber is, again, on par with these other options for making other items for your build. Mad Bomber is potentially even more useful because explosives can be kind of hard to come by in the early game. If you can make them yourself, it's going to help you out a lot more. So definitely take this one if you're running an explosive build. First up for our level 8 perks, we have Commando. Commando is the exact same thing as Gunslinger, but this is more accuracy with two-handed weapons, so this is shotguns, rifles. This one I would say is definitely better than Gunslinger, because that's generally going to be your primary weapons in most playthroughs, unless of course you're doing something very specific. So I would put Commando a little bit higher than Gunslinger, up into A tier. It's an overall really good perk if you want to be running a VATS build. Then we've got Cowboy. Cowboy gives you 25% more damage with cowboy-related weapons. So this is revolvers, lever action guns, knives, dynamite, all of that, which can be really good because some of the best weapons in the game are lever actions or revolvers. If you want more damage with the Ranger Sequoia or the Medicine Stick, Cowboy's your go-to, and I would put this one up into A tier. 25% damage is a nice big increase as well. Living Anatomy makes it so you can see the actual health bars of enemies to see how much health they have, as well as how much armor they have, damage threshold they have. And you also get 5% more damage towards all humans and non-feral ghouls, which can be pretty useful. Overall, I'd put this one up into B tier. It's pretty nice to have. It's honestly nice to see what the enemies have in terms of armor, so you know if you want to load armor-piercing rounds into your gun. That's mostly what I use it for. We've got Pack Rat up next, which Pack Rat is one of the most convenient perks in the game, especially if you're playing on hardcore. This makes it so everything that weighs 2 or less weight is then halved, which counts for all individual ammunitions besides mini nukes. Mini nukes don't count for this because they are 3 weight, I believe. So that's about the only ammo that this doesn't count towards. It's very, very useful in hardcore. In hardcore, it's easily A tier. If you're playing through the game normally, I'd probably say it's like B or C tier. Grunt gives us 25% more damage with any sort of, well, grunt-based weapons. So 45 SMG, knives. This actually overlaps with all the knives that Cowboy counts as too. So if you want to use Bloodnap or Chance's knife, they are really good once you have both of these. This one also counts towards service rifles and grenade launchers, or grenade rifles, which is pretty useful if you want to do like an explosive build. So another A tier perk. Rad Resist gives you 25% more radiation resist permanently. This is okay, but since Rad-X can max out your radiation resist and they give you plenty of it in this game, it's really not that useful. It's still a buff, and it's something you don't have to think about, so I'm going to put it on the low end of C tier. This one is supposed to be Quick Draw. I didn't see that we had a Quick Draw, so I'm going to be using whatever this perk is. I think this one's actually Joshua Graham's, but just for the sake of this, ignore that. Quick Draw makes it so that you can draw and holster your weapons 50% faster than you otherwise would, which works for like a thematic cowboy build, but in most situations, you're probably going to already have your gun drawn to be fighting to begin with, or enemies will have snuck up on you and drawing it a little bit quicker probably doesn't help you too very much more. So I'm going to put this one into D tier. It's just not way great. Then we've got Scrounger. This makes it so you can find more ammunition than you normally would. This can be kind of useful in the early game, but later on it's really not worth it, especially once you have access to some of the armories, especially like the Great Khans or the NCR. They just sell so many bullets that there's no real reason to take this, so it's going to go into D tier the same way with Fortune Finder. It's just not worth it compared to the things that you can just flat out buy in the game. And then we've got Strong Back. This gives you 50 more carry weight. Very convenient perk. I'm going to put it into the high end of C tier, low end of B tier, somewhere around there. If you want to carry around more stuff, it's a great option. If you don't have a problem carrying around stuff, it's still not bad because you may get to a point where you just want to carry like a missile launcher around or something. Stonewall makes it so we get 5 more damage threshold against melee and unarmed attacks, and we can not be knocked down during combat. The not being knocked down part is actually really useful because that is really annoying, and that's a good way to get yourself killed, as well as the damage threshold is nice. You're not always running into melee and unarmed fights, but if you do, it is a pretty nice perk, so I'm going to put it into C tier. Terrifying Presence makes it so you can intimidate through dialogue, and closing dialogue results in the enemy fleeing for 5 seconds. This is really fun. It's a really fun perk to actually be running, and it is pretty entertaining, but it's really not necessary in most fights because generally you're already winning the fight and you can just kill the person or let them run away. Terrifying Presence just gives you like a little bit more silly stuff in there. I'm going to put it into D tier. I think it's on the high end of it though. Next we got Super Slam, which makes it so all melee weapons except for thrown melee weapons and unarmed attacks have a chance of knocking enemies down. This is 15% for one-handed melee weapons and unarmed, or 30% chance with two-handed melee weapons. This one can be actually really strong if you want to put it on like a super sledge, because you can just go ham with that thing and knock everything down. You can also do the same thing with like really fast attacking weapons like Chance's Knife or Bloodnap. Knock them on the ground really quick. Certain unarmed things like boxing tape also works really well for just knocking stuff out and beating it to death. So this one's actually really good on a melee build. And I'd put it up into A tier for a melee build. For a non-melee build, and you just kind of like using it every once in a while, it's pretty decent. but it does definitely shine more on a melee build. Then we've got Sneering Imperialist, which makes so you get 15% more damage and 25% more accuracy in VATS to various tribal and raider characters. This really only helps for Honest Hearts, and it's really only useful against the Whitelegs at high levels, because that damage bonus is nice. Otherwise, you're just using this against like Fiends, and they're usually not that difficult to take out. So it's a like C tier. You do get some kind of funny dialogue with it though. Then we've got Tribal Wisdom. This one makes it so you receive less limb damage from animals, mutated animals, and insects. You also get extra poison resist, and you get the ability to eat insects when sneaking around. This is the bug version of eating cannibal, but actually gets you more stuff than cannibal. So it's going to also be in D tier because it's really not that useful even with all those bonuses. Then we've got Home on the Range, which Home on the Range makes it so whenever you interact with a campfire, you can sleep there. D tier. Even in like hardcore, that's still not good. That's still not a great perk to be having. Fight the Power makes it so you get 2 more damage threshold and 5% more crit chance whenever you're attacking anybody with NCR, Legion, or Brotherhood armor. This one can be a little bit okay. It's not a huge buff to it, but it's not terrible. Brotherhood, you're probably not going to be fighting for very long because there's just not very many of them, but it can work if you're fighting either the NCR or the Legion or both of them in your playthrough. So another C tier perk, it's alright. Continuing with the level 10 perks, we have Here and Now, which Here and Now makes it so you can level up once. That is pretty awful for a perk. You're going to level up anyway, never take Here and Now, it's really bad. So that's going to go into F tier. Then we've got Animal Friend, you can take this one twice. Animal Friend makes it so the first rank means hostile animals become neutral to you, and then the second rank makes it so that they can potentially assist you in combat. This can be useful, but it's not always the best because it's only certain animals. It's not like Deathclaws or Night Stalkers or Kazdors or anything like that. It's an okay perk overall, but not anything super crazy, so I'm going to put it on the low end of C tier. Then we've got Finesse, one of the best perks in the game, at least if you're running a crit build. This gives you 5% more crit chance. So that one's going to go right up into S tier. It has absolutely no requirements as well, so you can run it on any build. And so long as you're not using like an explosives build or you're using a very specific build, like say you want to use a chainsaw or a thermic lance, it's really, really good. Mathrath makes it so all action point costs are reduced by 10%. That's pretty good, especially for a VATS build. I'm going to put this one up into A tier. Makes it so you can potentially get some more shots off, especially if your weapon's already very low requirements in VATS. Can really help get you a couple more shots off with it, which is great. Misfortune's actually pretty good too. Whenever she does show up, she absolutely destroys anything that she fights, and she is, I think, better than the Mysterious Stranger, which is also pretty useful. Both these have a chance of showing up in VATS, but Misfortune definitely hits harder, so I'm going to put her up into A tier, and I'm going to put the Mysterious Stranger into B tier. They're both pretty good though. They're both really cool. Mr. Sandman makes it so we can instantly kill sleeping non-playable characters to get bonus XP. This one kind of works for a thematic build if you're going to go with like a hitman build or an assassin build, but it's just so specific and it doesn't really help a lot of the time. I'm going to put it into D tier. It's okay in like those situations, but even then it's super niche. Nerd Rage gives you 15 more damage threshold and your strength is increased to 10 when your health drops below 20% or more. So you get tankier and you can hit harder, potentially at least with melee weapons. You can also carry more stuff, but having very low health, having 20% health or less, is not a good thing, especially on the higher difficulties where other things could one-shot you. A Deathclaw can definitely one-shot you from 20 HP, doesn't matter what level you are. Same with other things could swarm you quickly, Kazdors, Night Stalkers, those would all put you down. So it is a bit situational, but it's not a bad perk. I'm going to put it into C tier. I think it's fine. Yeah, then we have Night Person, which gives us +2 more intelligence and perception so long as it's at night. So this is a temporary buff. I'm not the biggest fan of temporary buffs. It is +2 for each of them, which is nice, but unless you're trying to do like a specific skill check on a low intelligence character and you want to have like mentats going too, I don't think it's really going to help you that much. So another D tier perk. Plasma Spaz makes it so the action point cost of all plasma weapons is reduced by 20%. That's pretty good. That's similar to Mathrath. It's not as flexible as Mathrath, but it does give you more. And if you want to be using multi-plas rifles or just regular plasma rifles in the VATS, you can do that. You can also stack these. And the unique plasma rifle is actually really good on action points. So if you plan on running that build, this one's definitely a good choice, and I'd say it's A tier combined with things like Mathrath and Commando. If you're not going to run that and you're just going to be using plasma every once in a while, I think it's okay, and I'd probably move it down to like B or C tier then. And Stand Back makes it so every pellet from your shotguns has a chance of knocking down enemies. Knocking down enemies is quite useful. It's a little bit less useful with ranged weapons than it is with melee and unarmed weapons, but it's still really good. You can knock down a Deathclaw with this, especially if you have the Riot Shotgun, it'll just knock down everything. And with the Riot Shotgun, this one's probably A tier. With any of the other shotguns, I'm going to say it's like B tier-ish. Moving on to the level 12 perks, our first one is Fast Metabolism. This gives you 20% more HP whenever you take stim packs, which can be pretty useful. You get tons of stim packs throughout New Vegas. Even on hardcore though, I was never running out, and I usually had 200 to 300 of them at any given time, at least later on to the game. Early into the game though, it can be pretty useful, and if you do find yourself running through stim packs, it is not a bad perk, so I'm going to put it into B tier. I think it's pretty good. Then we've got Ghastly Scavenger. This is cannibal, but you can also eat ghouls and super mutants and stuff now, so it's also going to go into D tier with those other perks. This makes it so you take less explosive damage, not only from enemies' explosives, but also your own explosives. That's pretty useful because explosives are pretty dangerous in New Vegas, so I'm going to put this one up into A tier. I think it's pretty good. Life Giver gives you 30 more HP overall, which is not incredible, but it's okay, so I'm going to put Life Giver into C tier. It's never going to be a bad option to take. And then we've got Long Haul. Long Haul makes it so you can quick travel well over encumbered. Not the greatest thing in the world, but it's okay if you want to take it. Then we have Piercing Strike, which makes it so all melee and unarmed attacks ignore 15 armor, or 15 damage threshold, which is a lot. That's more than Shotgun Surgeon, and on a melee or unarmed build, this thing's absolutely S tier. Even if you just like using them occasionally, this one is still really good. That ignores basically all light armor and most of the medium armors. See, then we've got Silent Running. Silent Running makes it so we can run silently, so it doesn't affect our sneak, so we can move as fast as we want. This is okay. It's not as good as it is in like 3, where 3 gets you 10 more sneak points overall too. But, I mean, if you want to do an assassin character, it's pretty good. I'm going to put it into the C tier. Robotics Expert gives us 25% more damage towards robots. We can also shut down robots if we sneak up behind them, which that can be useful. There's not a whole lot of really scary robots in this. Kind of more once you get to like Big Mountain, they can be kind of scary. Securitrons can hurt you. Either way, this is a nice quality of life one. I'm going to put it into B tier. You do fight a decent amount of robots, especially the robot scorpions do in Big Mountain. It's really useful for them. Then we've got Pyromaniac. This gives you 50% more damage with all fire weapons, which can be really useful. If you want to use like the Shish Kebab, unique Shish Kebab, even just a flamethrower can be pretty useful on. There's not a whole ton of fire weapons, which is why it's not really the best. But if you want to build specifically around fire weapons, then absolutely take it. I'm going to put this one up into A tier, maybe on B tier. It's somewhere around there. Really depends on how much you really like the fire weapons. Next perk is Sniper. Sniper is probably the most useful of the VATS perks, at least for most weapons. This gets you 25% more chance of hitting things in the head, which generally you want to be aiming for the head because that's where most things' weak spot is. So Sniper is going to go up into A tier. Very useful perk. Then we've got Splash Damage. This gets us a 25% larger area of effect from all explosives, which is both kind of a good thing and a bad thing. It's really good for like grenade launchers, grenade rifles, the grenade machine gun, the APW, any of them. If you're trying to use this with like Fat Boy, it becomes even more dangerous for you. On an explosive build though, it's pretty good. I'm going to put it into B tier. Then we've got Unstoppable Force. This gives you 4 times more damage when enemies are blocking with melee or unarmed attacks. So you can hit things really hard if they are blocking. Most enemies don't tend to be blocking even when they do have melee though. Sometimes they do, and this will get you a decent chunk more damage, but other times you'll just beat something to death super quick with whatever melee weapon you're planning on using if you're running a melee build. So it's okay. I'm gonna put it on the low end of B tier. I think it can be pretty decent. Hobbler gives you more of a chance of hitting enemies' legs in VATS, which is interesting, but not usually what you want to do in VATS. I don't know. This one's not nearly as useful as the other VATS skills. I'm gonna put this one to the C tier. I think it's okay. And then we've got Heavyweight. Heavyweight makes it so any weapon that weighs more than 10 weight, its weight is cut in half. This does not affect weapons if they go under 10 weight thanks to upgrades. So if you upgrade something and say it had 10 weight and then you put something that reduces its weight down to 8, then it wouldn't be halved anymore, in which case it would actually not help you as much. If you like gearing around really big weapons, Heavyweight's a pretty good option. It can also be useful if you just like grabbing everything and just kind of being a kleptomaniac like you do in these games. I'm going to put it into C tier. It's a nice quality of life perk. Then we've got Awareness, which Awareness makes it so you get +2 perception when standing still, which is not very good. This one's really pretty bad, D tier. Moving on to level 14 perks, we only have a couple of them. First up is Adamantium Skeleton. This makes it so your limbs are more durable than they otherwise would be, so they don't break as often. That is really useful, especially because explosives, again, are really scary in New Vegas, so I'm going to put this one... I'm going to put it up into A tier in all honesty. Breaking your limbs really sucks, especially on hardcore mode. If you break your limbs, then you usually have to have doctor's bags, and they're not super common in the game. Then we have Center of Mass. This makes it so shots directly to the torso in VATS gets you 15% more damage. That's not too bad. Hitting the center of mass, hitting the torso is probably the easiest thing to do in VATS, even if you're not running a VATS build. So that does help, and 15% more damage is really nothing to scoff at, so I would put this one high up into B tier. I think it's good. Chemist makes it so chems and stim packs, at least in hardcore, last twice as long as they otherwise would. This is pretty useful for like Turbo, Med-X, Psycho, Slasher, just stim packs in general if you are playing on hardcore. Chemist is pretty nice. It's a really nice quality of life one. I'd say it's B tier. Maybe it's on A tier if you have like an excess of turbo or something, because turbo's pretty crazy in this game. Then we have jury rigging, and jury rigging I'm just going to put right up into S tier. It's so useful to have. This takes a lot of repair to have, but it makes it so you can repair any weapon with a similar weapon. So if it's a manual action gun, like a bolt action, you could fix it with a lever action gun. If it's a semi-auto gun, you could fix it with another semi-auto gun. This one just makes you so much money, because you can just fix up armor and weapons that are worth so much. Even if you find like a completely broken rifle, you can go to your nearest vendor, buy a rifle that's the cheapest version of whatever it needs to be repaired, so it might be like a varmint rifle, for 100, 200 caps, whatever it might be, and sell that gun back for 6,000, 7,000. Light Step is a really nice quality of life perk. It makes it so you don't set off floor traps or mines anymore. Really good, especially if you're going to like the Sierra Madre. You don't really need this because you could just go slower in those areas and you could disarm just about everything. But if you just want to run around really quick and not worry about just getting exploded or getting shot, it's pretty good. I would say this is C or B tier, somewhere around that. Purifier gives you 50% more damage with melee and unarmed against certain creatures, mostly abominations. So this is centaurs, night stalkers, spore plants, spore carriers, death claws, and super mutants. Which super mutants, death claws, and night stalkers are all pretty scary. They're all pretty dangerous enemies, so having 50% more damage against them is really nice, especially if you are running an unarmed or melee build. And in which case, I'm going to say that this one's A tier. If you're not using either of those weapons or not using them super frequently, then I would say it's much lower. Moving on to level 16 perks, we have Action Boy and Action Girl. I'm not sure why these are two different perks here, but they do the same thing. It just depends on whether you're male or female. This gets you 15 more action points, and you can take it twice. That's pretty useful, especially if you're running a VATS build, and I would put both of these up into B tier, because they're just nice extra points. Then we have Better Crits. Better Crits gives you 50% more damage when you hit crits, which is really good, and this one's S tier. It's probably one of the best perks in the game, unless you're not running a crit build or your crit damage just isn't super high. Again, if you're using like a chainsaw or thermic lance. Meltdown makes it so if you kill an enemy with energy weapons, it emits damage, dealing damage to everything else around it. That is pretty useful. It's really nice on a energy weapon build, and I would say it's probably like A tier on those builds. Then we have Chem Resist. This makes it so we're half as likely to get addicted, which is a nice quality of life perk. It's not terrible to get addicted though to stuff because you can go to a doctor and get it fixed. Then we have Tagged. Tagged is probably one of the worst skills in the game too. I'm going to put this one into F tier. This one gets you 15 more points to a skill that you did not tag at the start. So you can pick 3 tagged skills that give you 15 points to start out with. This gives you a 4th one, and it's just really not that great in New Vegas. I actually took this on my idiot run because I needed the extra points, but that was the only reason why I took it. And that was to do a particular challenge. You won't really need it unless you're doing a really low intelligence character. And even then, it's really not necessary. Then we've got weapons handling. This gives us +2 more strength for any sort of weapon-related requirement. This can be useful on a somewhat low or a mid-strength character. It's okay. I'm going to put it into C tier. For level 18 perks, we have Computer Whiz and Infiltrator. These both basically do the same thing. Infiltrator makes it so you can potentially force open a lock or try a lock again once you've failed the force lock option, and Computer Whiz gives you another chance to hack a computer. Both these are completely useless. They're probably 2 of the worst perks in the entire game because neither one is necessary. Just don't force locks in the first place. The lock minigame is pretty easy to do. And then the Computer Whiz one, you can just click off of the computer and then click back on it and get your resets again, so it's completely redundant just by doing that little trick. You don't need a perk for it. Then we don't have a concentrated fire on here, so I'm using the Cazador DNA Avenger thing for it. But concentrated fire gives you 5% more accuracy for every time you tag something in VATS. This can be pretty useful. It makes it so you can hit headshots from further away, especially further away than what you really should be hitting. It's really useful in a VATS build, so I'm going to put this one up into B tier. It's pretty nice. And then we've got Paralyzing Palm. Paralyzing Palm makes it so you can paralyze an enemy if you hit an enemy in VATS with an unarmed attack. I think you have to be completely unarmed to do this as well, which isn't too bad because 30 seconds of paralysis pretty much means whatever you hit is going to die. I would put this one up into A tier. Then we also have Walker Instinct. Walker Instinct gives us +1 perception and +1 agility when outside. That's okay. It's similar to awareness though, where it's not really necessary and you do have to be fairly high level to use it. It is a little bit more useful than 2 perception, but not by too much. I'm also going to put this one into D tier. Moving on to our level 20 perks, we have Grim Reaper Sprint. Grim Reaper Sprint makes it so anytime that we kill an enemy in VATS, we get 20 points restored. That is pretty useful. I'm going to put this into B tier. It's nowhere near as crazy as it is in Fallout 3 where you get all of your VATS points back. Explorer shows you every location on the map that you haven't already discovered. This one's D tier, unless you're looking for something specific. You can also just look up the wiki and then there's no point in taking this and it's an F tier. But assuming you didn't do that, there's still a good chance that you'll find most things that you need to find in the game. Ninja gives you more crit chance with melee and unarmed weapons, and it also gets you more damage for those melee and unarmed weapons, at least when you hit crits, which is pretty good. The extra damage is nice. Percentage, I think, is actually bugged. It doesn't give you as much as it's supposed to. Either way, it's still probably going to be an A tier. Solar Power gives you 2 more strength and 1 more HP per second whenever you're outside, at least during the middle of the day. Extra strength is kind of nice for moving around. Extra health is kind of okay. I'm going to put this one as C tier. It's alright overall. Eye for an Eye makes it so for every crippled limb you have, you get 10% more damage. That sounds okay, because you could stack it up to where you have like 50% extra damage, because almost all your limbs are crippled. But at that point, it's really difficult to actually fight stuff, and you don't want to be crippled that much. So this one, it sounds okay on paper, but it's honestly not as great as it seems. Most of the time, you don't want to have crippled limbs, so I'm going to put it into B tier. It's okay when it does happen, though. Atomic makes it so in radiation areas, we have 25% more movement speed and attack speed. We also get 2 more damage threshold, 2 more strength, and with excess radiation levels, we also regen more action points when we're there. This only helps when you're in radioactive areas, and a lot of Fallout, you're actually not in radioactive areas, so this one doesn't help as much as you might think it would. It's okay in those particular areas where it does count, but it's like probably a C tier perk. It's okay. Then we've got A Mile in Their Shoes. This one makes it so when you consume Night Stalker squeezings, you now get +1 perception, 5 more poison resist, and 5 more sneak, as well as all the normal benefits. Pretty bad for such a high leveled perk. It doesn't really give that much, and it's tied to another item that you have to use to get it, and it's not even a super common item that you're going to be getting. And then our last level 20 perk is Them's Good Eating. This one makes it so any living thing has a 50% chance of dropping thin red paste or blood sausages. These are really useful. They get you a lot of healing, and they also sell for a lot of money. I would put this one up into A tier. It's a really nice quality of life perk to have, especially if you're playing on hardcore where the healing definitely comes in handy. Up next is level 22 perks, and we have Laser Commander. Laser Commander gets you 15% extra damage and a 10% extra crit chance whenever you're using laser weapons. This is really useful if you like the tri-beam laser, the regular laser rifle, laser pistols. Really, really good on those ones. If you're not using them though, not as great, so I'm going to put it up into A tier. Then we've got Nuka Chemist. This makes it so we can unlock specific Nuka recipes on the workbenches, which is okay. I'm going to put this one into C tier. If you really like making them, cool. They give you some extra benefits, but it's not really necessary. And then we have Spray and Pray. Spray and Pray makes it so we do 75% less damage to companions. So if we end up shooting companions, we're not killing them right away, which can be useful in hardcore, but you could also just not shoot your companions, and that would also help quite a bit. Most of the time, I don't really have companions around, and even when I do, I don't find them hopping in the way constantly, so I'm going to put this one into D tier. I don't think it's super useful. Up next, we have Irradiated Beauty. Irradiated Beauty makes it so sleeping removes all rads, unless you're on hardcore, and then it removes 100 rads at a time. That's not really super useful, especially this late into the game. You'll probably get plenty of rad away by now. I'm going to put it into D tier. It's not super useful. Voracious Reader. This one makes it so any damage books become blank magazines, and then you can copy extra magazines into these blank magazines. The magazines aren't super useful, and at this point, you're probably fine on them. So D tier as well. For level 24 perks, there is only one perk in the game that is level 24, and that is Slayer, but it's a really, really good perk. This one makes it so you swing all melee and unarmed attacks 30% faster. This one's incredible on a melee and unarmed build, and it's absolutely S tier for them. It is really, really good. Even if you only sort of like using melee and unarmed, it's still really good. Nerves of Steel is a level 26 perk that allows you to have 25% faster action point regeneration. Also a really good perk if you want to be taking this on a VATS build, so I'm going to put it up into A tier. It's pretty good. We do have some less than useful level 26 perks too. We have Tunnel Runner, which makes it so your sneak speed is 25% faster so long as you're wearing lightweight armor or no armor. You can actually move, I think it's sprint speed or slightly faster than sprint speed for this, so again, if you really want to run through an area, it's okay. but it's kind of C tier. It's just kind of an okay option. Then we have lessons learned. This one is absolutely F tier. This one is even worse than Here and Now. This one makes it so for every level that you've leveled up, you get 1% total XP towards your next level. So at the absolute maximum, when you get this, you would get 48% XP going to level 49. So you wouldn't even get half your XP bar, and it's only the XP. You get nothing else from it. It is an absolute garbage perk. Then we have Roughing It, which is also kind of a garbage perk. This is a level 28 perk, which makes it so sleeping outside gets you the benefit of well rested, but you need 100 survival for it, and it's coming pretty late into the game. This one is also probably like an F tier. I don't really see myself ever taking it in any sort of run. Rad absorption is also pretty bad for being this high level. This makes it so you naturally lose a certain amount of radiation over time, but it's so slow to get any sort of value out of it that it's a D tier perk. It does have some uses, especially if you're just waiting around to do certain quests or something, especially companion quests that require time. It's okay then. But outside of that, it really doesn't help you. Moving on to level 30 perks, we have the GRX implant, which this thing's absolutely S tier. You can get it twice, and this gives you turbo that you can use up to 5 times a day or up to 10 times a day. That can last up to 3 seconds per use, I believe. So you can have 30 seconds where you're basically untouchable and can kill everything each day with any weapon, and it's really strong on any sort of build that you want to take it on. And then we got Burden to Bear. This one is the same as Strong Back, so I'm also going to put it into C tier. It gives you 50 more weight to carry around, which is kind of cool. And then we move on to a level 36 perk, which is Broad Daylight. This makes it so you get no sneak penalty when you have your light on with your Pip-Boy. An absolute garbage perk that belongs in F tier. Just turn your Pip-Boy light off. Yeah, I don't know why this is a level 36. This should be level 2. And even then, at level 2, it would still be garbage. But at level 36, it just seems insulting to have it up there. Certified Tech should work similar to Robotics Expert, where you get extra damage towards robots, or at least extra crit hit damage towards robots, but that doesn't work. You do still get more robot parts dropped from them, though. So I guess if you're scavenging for that, it's okay, but even then, D tier, not a great perk. And then we've got our 3 level 50 perks, which our first one is Ain't Like That Now. This one you get for having bad karma. All of these reset your karma back to 0. You get 25% more action point regeneration from this one, you get 20% more attack speed with all weapons, and you also get immunity to crit hits. Very useful. This one I'm going to say is S tier. It's very useful. The extra attack speed and action point regeneration is great for a VATS build or for a melee build or unarmed build. Even for just a standard gun build, it's still really good. Then we have Just Lucky to Be Alive. This is the neutral karma one, and this one makes it so you get +4 luck for 3 minutes after finishing a battle with less than 25 HP. You're also immune to crits, and you get 50% more crit damage. The extra crit damage is really nice. Being immune to crits is nice. The other part of this is pretty bad because it's never really going to help you at any point. So I don't know what is up with that, but if you want extra crit damage, it is a pretty decent option. I think it's the weakest out of these ones though, and I'd put it up into A tier just for that 50% crit damage. And then we have Thought You Died. This is the good karma one, which gets you 10 more HP per 100 karma that you have, so you will have to build your karma back up, but you will get tankier from it. Your karma is reset back to 0, just like the evil one. You get 10% more damage on everything, and you become immune to crits. This one is also really good. This one I'm also going to stick up into S tier, just like the bad one. It's usually better to go the good or the bad one rather than the neutral one, just because the neutral one is just for crit damage, which for certain builds, if you're going to like sniper builds, that's perfectly fine too. And this is where I'd put all the perks in Fallout New Vegas. Tell me your thoughts down below. Thank you guys so very much for watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye!